Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. In today's video, we're going to be looking at this, which is the Suhr PT15 IR. Now, this amplifier is probably the most versatile amplifier that you can get. Not only is this an extremely high quality 15 watt guitar amp, and we'll come back to that in a minute, it's got reactive load and IRs built in as well. So what you can do with this amplifier is to not only have stage volume, so you can plug it straight into your normal guitar speaker, but you can also take a DI out of the amplifier and run that into front of house or into your recording console and get really high quality guitar tones. You get the best of both worlds with not only sort of Fender style amps on the clean tones, but also Marshall type tones in channels 2 and 3. And it really does sound fantastic. So let's have a listen to it. At the moment, I'm in channel 1 and it sounds like this. Just as a little disclosure, and this is pretty obvious, this amp doesn't actually have any effects built in, but I've got some reverb and delay after the IR section. Now, I'm not plugging this amplifier in via a speaker. This is going straight out the DI output on the back of the amplifier straight into my recording interface. So there's channel 1 and you're getting those sort of pristine, sort of clean tones. You can crank up the gain on channel 1 and you're going to get more of that sort of tweedy sort of breakup. You might be thinking, well, this amp is only 15 watts. What am I going to do with that? Well, I can tell you the last time that I took an amplifier out, I actually took my Bad Cat Cub 30 out. And I got it up to about 2 before the singer started moaning. So the days of us sort of taking out Marshall stacks are well and truly gone. The experience that I had with that Bad Cat amp, where I could only sort of crank it up to a certain level, really sort of pushed me towards having a silent sort of stage rig. So nowadays I take out an Axe-Fx and a bunch of pedals and I run everything through the Axe-Fx and just have in-ear monitors. As much as us guitarists love an amplifier behind us sort of flapping at our trouser legs, those days are gone. So we have to get used to these smaller amplifiers that, to be honest, 15 watts is still an incredibly loud amplifier that will easily get past the drummer. Now, personally, if I was going to take this amp out, I'd take it out with a pedal board and I'd stick a boost in front of it. If I turn my boost on, now that way, for me, it breaks up in a much more usable sort of way where you're not getting that sort of flubby, sort of tweed bottom end. And because channel 1 is based on the Suhr Bella, it does take pedals incredibly well. So if I add an overdrive pedal before it, so if you do want to use it as a 1-channel amp, it's incredibly versatile. So let's switch it over to channel 2. It does come with a foot switch, so you can do all of this remotely. But let me switch it to channel 2 using the amp. Now you'll notice as I switch it over channel 2, these lights here change. Now this represents what IR you've selected. Now each of these channels has a bright switch option on it. Now on channel 2 I've actually got that switched out, but if I bring it in, Now, the thing that I was really impressed with this was the actual EQ section on all of the channels. Channels 2 and 3 actually shares this EQ. So it's incredibly easy to shape the sort of sound that you want. Now, if I switch it over to channel 3, you'll see that my IR selection has changed again. Channels 2 and 3 are basically identical, but because you can change the IR selection on all 3 different channels, you can get really any sound you want. For me, the way of judging a great amplifier is how well it does clean tones and overdrive tones. The overdrive channels in this amp, which I think are absolutely fantastic, are more sort of based on that, I guess you could say more on that sort of modded Marshall sort of tone. And you could think of it a bit like a sort of Friedman sort of tone as well, where you're getting loads of clarity, loads of punch, and you can play really big chords without it sort of getting sort of too flubby in the bottom end. So the way that you change the IR selection on this, you've got 2 different buttons. You've got cab and bank. So I can change the different cabs. And then you've got 4 different banks. So you've got a total of 16 different IRs in total. Now you can load your own IRs into this as well. And also if you wish, you can bypass the IR selection. There's a button at the back, you can just turn it off. And then if you have an IR loader that you really like to use, or you've got some specific IRs that you like to use on your DAW, you can do that as well. And then if you want to store that particular IR, you just hold down the 2 buttons together. And that will permanently be stored to channel 3. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. This is not a cheap amp by any means. This actually in the UK is about £2,800. You can pick them up second hand, but they do come up quite rarely, and you can expect to pay, I guess, between £800 and £1,000, less than that second hand. But if you actually look at all the components of this amp, so you've got a high quality hand-built valve guitar amp by Suhr, which is an expensive amp in its own right. Then you've got the reactive load and the way that you can load IRs into it. Not only that, but you've got a headphone amp and an auxiliary as well. If you want to monitor late at night just by using headphones, you can do that. It is incredibly versatile. It is expensive, but it is probably the most versatile amp that you can get. Anyway, I really hope you guys got something out of that. If you did get something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe, click on the bell button, and you'll be notified of any future video that comes out from the Studio Rats. I'm Paul, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.